Hello, beautiful people. It's Brittany with Scarlett's House, and we're going to do a quick offset video today in Cricut Design Space, and I'm going to show you how I did that Western style offset. A couple of people asked how to do, and I'm going to show you two different ways on how to do that today. Okay, so let's first go ahead and we're going to just open up our Design Space and go over and insert text, and then just pick a font. If you have Cricut access, you can choose a font there, your system font. If you've imported a font, you can go ahead and search that font there. We'll just go ahead and use this one here because a lot of times people like to use like the little cursive font, and we'll go ahead and put that one in, and I'm just going to type Scarlett. And then, so choose your measurements. Let's see, for like a cup, if you want it like laying vertical ways, I usually do around 4 inches wide going long ways, and then 2 inches high for like a 20-ounce skinny. Or you can do like 4.5. Just measure your cup and see however long you want your words. And then, so you can also change some things, like if you can see here, if you want like your T's to be a little bit farther apart. Let me zoom in. Okay, so first what you would want to do is just ungroup it all, and then you could easily pull them all apart. Say you're like, oh, I didn't like that. Just go right back, the back arrow up here. And you could just kind of tilt it a little bit more and kind of blend it in that way a little bit more. And then once you're happy with all of that and where you want it, highlight it all again. And then you're gonna want, before you cut it all out, so it all cuts nice and even and it doesn't cut all of these little lines out where the letters are, and it all cuts as one, you have to weld it all together first. So that way it just cuts on the outside of everything and it doesn't cut every little slice in between where the letters meet. And also now for the offset. To do the offset, I think that feature is only on the desktop version of Cricut. I'm pretty sure it's not on, actually I think I know it's not on like the phone app version or like the iPad. So you have to do it on your desktop. So once you have that where you like it, I like to just change my color. Let's see, I just grabbed a couple of scrap pieces of vinyl just to show this, and then click that, and then you'll want to go up here where you see offset and just click that, and you can either do like a curved offset, see how it's nice and rounded, or you could do a more straight edged lined offset. I usually just go with the curved one. And my offset inches, I usually do it 0.042. That's where I usually like it, where it's peeking out just enough and it's not too thick and bulgy. So then I type that in right up there and I click apply. And so it keeps it nice and thin, and it looks kind of thin on the computer, but then when you print it out, it's pretty good for being a nice offset on the cup. You could just use your scale too and make it as big as you want. You could take it down and make it as thin as you want. And then you see like these pieces in between, it's gonna cut around that, so you'll be weeding that little part out there, even this little sliver. So you can kind of take your scale and drag it down if you want it even closer, even farther apart, wherever you're happy with it. I'm gonna put mine back at 0.042. Click apply. And then it shows you with color too, to see if you like it. And then you have your two pieces over here. So you have your offset that'll be cutting out. And then you have your top layer to be cutting out. And if you want to change the colors of them just to help you if you're cutting out multiples, like I just said, I could grab 2 scrap pieces of vinyl, so you can change the colors of what vinyls you're laying down to help you know what one's what. So my scrap piece of vinyl for my offset layer is going to be purple, and then my top layer, I am going to cut it on pink. Okay, so then let's go ahead and make it. On a mat. And here's our first one. And since we welded it together, it's going to be cutting all in one. If we didn't click weld and only grouped it, it would have just been in a bunch of little pieces on the screen, like it would have been all separate letters cutting. If you want to not weld it, but keep it all attached on the screen, and you don't want all your pieces welded together, but you want to keep it together to put on your project, click attach. And that way it'll keep it all together where you want it for your project, but it won't weld the pieces together, if that makes sense. And then there is our offset. So let's go ahead and cut the first one. And I usually just do vinyl glossy. Okay, so this is a second version of an offset. This offset will be detached from your font, so that way it will have a space from your main font and your offset will not be touching it. So you will do the same thing. You'll type out your font, you'll go ahead and offset it like I'm doing here, and then you will pull away your offset, and then you're going to offset your offset. Okay, so once you have your offset, your first one done, go ahead and do another offset on that offset, like you're seeing me do here. I'm going and changing the colors just so you can see it, and you don't need to pull it away like I'm doing. I just did that so you can see I have now 2 offsets. The pink is my main font, and the black and purple are my 2 offsets. So now go ahead and highlight the 2 offsets, and then you're going to slice them. And that way, now go ahead and pull them apart. And you don't need the 2 filled in ones. You just have your outside layer and bring it to your main font. And then that way you have a detached offset. And all I did was highlight it and go around to the align button and click center, so then you can like see how it looks. So now you see what I mean by you have a detached offset. So then you have your main font, you have the spacing around it, and then you have your outline, so that way you can like see the project that you're putting it on through the font still, so you can see your background through your outline or your offset. So that's just another way of doing something. And I'm going to show you next how I put it together. Okay, we have our 2 pieces cut out, and I'm sure you've seen people use the parchment paper to help see it and line it up. And then one other step that I do is I take a little piece of tape. I use the electrical tape because it helps it stick nice and lay flat. You could probably use just a piece of painter's tape as well. So I will show you how to do that. I did forget to say we need transfer tape, but I'm sure you need that. See, I usually like to leave a little lip of transfer tape on this side. So I'm just going to fold that back. So that way we can stick it down So for this one, this is when I put the piece of tape down. Just on the back, because this is going to help me hold it down. So this way this doesn't shift and move. When I go to like lay this down, this is going to stay down. When I go to lay this down and then pull this piece off, and then sometimes this second layer, when you have it like lined up, you're like, oh good, perfect. And you go to pull this out, your bottom one shifts and moves with it, and then you go lay it down, you're like, what? It's off. I thought I lined it up right. This is going to be secure now. So make sure your vinyl does not go over the parchment paper. We just want to line it up to it so that way it doesn't stick to anything. And now we can start lining things up. I'm trying to do this through the phone view too. Okay, so that looks good enough. So then I'm going to lay this one piece of transfer tape down. Make sure it's all nice and straight, which it still is, okay? And I'm just gonna place my finger there, just so that one piece stays down. Pull it up, slide that out because that guy's still there. And then I'm just going to lay it down, but not lay it down just flat. I'm still gonna run it with my finger from the front to the back, like that. And then give it a rub with my squeegee. See, make sure there's no bubbles. Doesn't matter anymore. And I say it looks pretty darn good. So this little piece seriously really helps when you're trying to do that parchment paper method, because I couldn't tell you how many times I lay my parchment paper down and then I'm like, okay, good, it's lining up perfect. And I go to slide my parchment paper out and I totally shift that bottom layer and I'm like, darn it. And I'm already sticking it down and then it's off. So I started laying this piece of tape down on my bottom layer on a hard surface, and it has helped every single time. So I hope this helps.